What is up, everybody? Josh here again, and today we have an Icarus Week 49 update. This week they added the ability to set in chairs and also added water bombs and some exciting news about open world coming next week. Let's get into it, shall we? So, Icarus Week 49 community feedback number 4, Icarus Week 49 update, sitting on chairs and the water bombs. You can now sit on chairs and throw water bombs. We also talk about upcoming features in open world and performance. This week brings our 4th community feedback update, focusing on player-driven improvements and changes shared with us on Feature Upvote. Alongside with these changes, we've also spent some time this week speaking about some of our ongoing work and upcoming features we've excited about debuting. A large performance improvement is planned, and we go into depth about what the changes we're making are and our expectations for how this will impact performance overall. We also speak about our upcoming dynamic quests in open world, and finally the PTP, or player-to-player, benefits and changes as a result of our upcoming data decentralization. So an update on performance and optimization. Performance is always something that's on the front of their minds when they work on Icarus, and they understand it's a long-standing issue. Addressing it hasn't been a priority of theirs, and they have identified an issue in the early testing that could result in a large performance improvement for a number of players. Icarus uses Unreal Engine Runtime Virtual Texture (RVT) technology to provide terrain texture details and environment blending for the rocks and cliffs. They found that their heavy use of this tech has led to a bottleneck on the GPU. They're working hard to remove this bottleneck and expect it to be a significant improvement in the future, but it will take them a while to implement it due to the fact that it has to change a large number of terrain assets. Improvements like this are time consuming, but they say that a portion of their team is dedicated to improving performance. So coming next week, Open World number 2, they are moving ahead with their plan to develop the next stages for the feature, starting with the first expansion to the Open World next week, Dynamic Quests. Open World has been a big success for them, and your support of the new mode has been incredibly encouraging and a proud moment for their team. Dynamic quests require you to build a new short-range radio on the planet, which you can interact with to trigger the start of these objectives. These dynamic quests will provide objectives in a local area and biome to where you have built your short-range radio, keeping your missions close to base and your resources. Completing these dynamic quests will reward you with a specialized pod that drops down to the surface, and when interacted with, will provide you with a few different options to choose from, such as food, ores, or tools for your payment. Depending on the difficulty of the quest, the rewards will scale appropriately, and players will be able to receive XP for completing these quests. Dynamic quests are the first step in their efforts towards building open world and being a vibrant, engaging game mode. And the early support you have shown us has given us acknowledgement of your appreciation for this effort. We're excited to build into the future of this mode with you. So we got into some new features of the game, and they bring their 4th installment of their community feedback patch. Due to popular demand on the feature upvote and the fact that it should have been in the game to begin with, you can now sit in chairs, allowing you to finally enjoy the comforts of your elegantly designed bases and homes. They've also released the Water Bomb, a feature they've been working on for a while and are excited to bring to the tech tree. Designed as a fire deterrent, the Water Bomb explodes on impact and is far more effective than the Fire Whacker at dealing with infernos with double the radius and guaranteed effectiveness. The Water Bomb does fit into the grenade class, although its specialization and purpose for dealing with fire makes it ineffective in combat scenarios. They also improved smoke grenades and frag grenades this week. And finally, we have the Wolf Trophy. Finally, we've also added the only missing trophy from the collection, the Wolf Trophy, so you can display all your conquests on the walls of your base. And they reworked some features this week. Alongside their new features, they've added some other community-led changes, such as the Repair Hammer and Upgrade Hammer have been merged into a single item, removing the need to have 2 items for the singular tool that share too many similar characteristics to warrant its own space and recipe. The Tomahawk talent has been renamed to the Berserker talent and increases damage and attack speed with a hatchet. They also have the subsequent talent named Controlled Rage, which lowers the impact of the durability and stamina cost of this talent. The bow Crosshair has now been applied to all weapons which have a charge effect, such as bows, throwing spears, and throwing knives. Also provides a more informative UI when using those weapons. So for the decentralization update, we're going to go ahead and kind of skim over this real quick for you guys and give you the key points, because this is quite a large section. With data decentralization near, they wanted to address the impact on players who choose not to go to dedicated servers for their Icarus experience and rather prefer to play in the standard peer-to-peer model. There are numerous benefits to a decentralized data model, but let's explain to people who may not understand the tangible differences. All Icarus data will now be stored once it comes out on the player's individual PCs. In the past, everything was stored in the cloud and on servers. This data also includes players' accounts, missions, save games, and more. It won't take up much of your hard drive space and will be written in a JSON format for easy access for modders and whatnot. The transfer from data from the cloud to the player's PC is called data decentralization. So the benefits of this is there's no cap on character limit. That means that you can have as many characters as you wish, which lets you investigate specialized builds for unique scenarios. And with the data stored locally, characters no longer can be lost or mysteriously deleted by the servers or other errors on server side. And characters will no longer be bound to an individual prospect, open world, or outpost, and can actively move across multiple sessions simultaneously. You'll no longer be required to remove a character from a prospect or mission, take them onto a different one. This also means the remove from prospect button will be retired, as it will no longer serve a purpose. So what does this mean? This means, guys, that you will have all of your data stored locally. So you need to make sure that you have some kind of backup once this comes out. This is in the future, of course. This is not currently in the game, but they're talking a little bit more about decentralization. So no character limit. So you can have as many characters as you want. The character level cap still stays the same. And you'll no longer be bound to any prospect, open world, or outpost. And they will remove the remove from prospect button. Data can now also be tracked instantaneously and stored locally, no longer relying on the connection between the server to execute outcomes. That means that workshop items can now be tracked in bundles and stacks, allowing us to provide a similar experience to planet-crafted items. We also are able to track durability, allowing for more crossover between different prospects and sessions. Mission rewards can now be granted upon the completion of objectives rather than the completion of the prospect encompassing them. Talent unlocks, item unlocks, and Ren can be immediately granted, and players won't be restricted from receiving their rewards if one player cannot leave the mission or another similar problem arise. Exotic extractors will no longer require you to leave the planet's surface. In addition to specialized exotic drones, yes, drones, you can load and send into orbit, all while carrying on with your missions on the planet's surface without impact. Some of the benefits also have more future-focused lens, and they wanted to explain a couple of those also. With data being localized, it takes a lot of stress off their servers to withstand large-scale changes and additions, which opens the door for them to dive into more ambitious projects and detailed improvements that they've been wanting to make for some time. And basically, you won't have to rely on a server or their server host to host the game, so there's no risk of server outages. Another impact that is worth mentioning is how active sessions and games are played in multiplayer formats. With this new model, the host is solely responsible for the datasets surrounding a prospect they've started. This means unless the host is online and active, that the peer-to-peer session is unable to be played by any other member who have joined it. However, with characters no longer being tied to sessions, you're able to use that character elsewhere in the meantime. So this means that you have to have the person who hosted the session if you're not on a dedicated server and you're going from peer to peer, that's person to person. That means you have to have the person who created the game active and on at all times. That means that there's no more of the you could drop in, somebody else can drop in, and then they can continue to play while you're off. Everybody has to be on at the same time, or they have to have a dedicated server. So basically, you either have to have a dedicated server, or the person who created the prospect has to have P2P up, and you have to connect to them to actually do the prospect. You no longer can have friends doing the prospect later on unless you're on a dedicated server. If you're offline and you started a peer-to-peer game, your friends cannot join that game until you start it back up again. So there is that problem. So as you can see in the habitation and underneath tools, you can learn the controlled rage, which gives negative 50% wear rate of axes, negative 10% stamina consumed by axe actions, and plus 30% yield from felling trees. Next to it, you have Berserker, which greatly increases combat abilities with axes, but increases the stamina and durability usage, plus 150% axe melee damage, plus 10% attack speed with axes, plus 50% stamina consumed, and plus 100% wear rate of axes. Me, personally, I don't use axes to do any kind of melee damage, but maybe in the future I'll try this out. And we now have the water bomb. It's now available in Tier 2. It's a thrown device for firefighting. 100% chance to break. Requires 5 leather and 15 fiber to craft at the crafting bench. The water bomb does require water to actually craft it, so you must put your canteen or something into the crafting bench when you do so. Once you craft it, it looks like you get 5. The item only stacks to 5. Once you have the water bomb out, all you got to do is left click and throw. Some very vocal buffaloes over there. So the repair hammer and the upgrade hammer are the same now. All you have to do is hold R. That will bring up the upgrade menu. Select the grade that you want to upgrade it to. In this case, it's going to be concrete. And then hit right click. And that will upgrade your wall. You can also repair the wall with left click still. So as far as the chairs that you can set in the game now, you can now set in the rustic dining room chair and the rustic armchair. These are the only two that you can press E and interact with. All the other chairs in the game, such as these benches and whatnot, you cannot hit E on and set in those yet. This includes the 2-seater rustic couch, the 3-seater rustic couch, the stool you can't sit on, the sitting bench you can't sit on, and that's it for now. So the rustic dining room chair and the rustic armchair are the only ones you can sit in. But you can now sit in chairs. So we got the change log this week. Under the new content section, we have mentions the building upgrade tools and stuff that we already mentioned just a second ago. They added the support for the setting in the rustic dining and living room chairs. They did add the kill cam availability to throwing knives and spears. There's no longer a talent unlock for the water bomb. It's just a blueprint, as is mentioned above here. They reworked the tomahawk talent and modified it. They removed the thrown action availability from axes now that you cannot throw axes. The disconnect flammability from grenade payout as part of the damage refactor, and instead this will buff the base damage number for grenades. They did double the base damage of frag grenades to bring them more in line with the current average creature health. So double the damage on grenades, guys. And grenades also are 50% larger. Their blast radius is 50% larger. They also increased the throw distance of grenades and water bombs. They added a minimum throw charge for grenades so they can't be dropped at your feet. And in the fix section this week, they did fix the platinum crossbow requiring composites. They now it just correctly requires platinum. And now if you have the cheaper bow crafting talents, platinum and titanium crossbows are affected by that. And now it also consumes stamina when aiming with throwing knives and spears. They did fix incorrect shadow settings on several foliage types. The weight of throwing knives and spears were reduced by 60%. Use the existing information from deranged weapon for animating the crossbow UI. And that's really it for fix. This week on the future content, looks like we're going to have some geothermal lakes. Setting up an orbital strike quest spawning. Mentioning the orbital strike again. Moved alien fossil assets to PRP folder. Added the Ponga tree. Added potato icon art and added it to the itemable database. Another submitting alien fossil cave map assets and cleanup of the alien fossil cave redirectors. Added a breakable clay node and added a breakable obsidian node. Breakable scoria, adding the icons for the clay brick buildables. Adding B-Dog HAL vocalizations. They added an initial pass of a DPS target dummy to help balance weapons. Developer only for the time being. Added version 1 of the repair bench mesh and textiles to the project. Here's something I found quite interesting. Look at this, guys. I have fortifications. Wood gate, wood wall, wood walkway, wood spikes, wood walkway ramp, and wood forward ramp. It looks like they added in a prototype mesh for these and animation for the gate. So fortifications around your bases. That's pretty awesome. I like that. They added a sledgehammer impact on clay resource audio. Who knows? Maybe you use sledgehammers to farm clay in the future. Swapping a new transport ship system to run off a EQS with the basic backup for landing zone selection. They are setting up a cheap function to load and save pre-built structures, fixing up various pre-built structures being used in Prometheus story missions. So Prometheus is going to have quite a bit of pre-built structures. That's cool. Talk about the brick tiers. Adding unique rock dog aggro state. Vocalizations and correcting path for sledgehammer files. Updating of Moe's base pre-built structure. Update improvements and additions to the Needler. Updating EQS for finding the supply ship's landing location. Submitting blueback, carcass, bones, fur, lava, and arctic variations. Stomp movements added to the R-Dog and other various tweaks and updates. R-Dog. First pass setup of the blueback lava and blueback lava mount added to the project. They are adding roaming epic creatures for use in dynamic quests adding in the predator bird dive behavior and corpse setup. Still needs some rotation and target select polish. And they mentioned down here adding in base implementation for the wooden fortification gate, as well as recipes and talents for the rest of the fortification setups. Currently, the recipes are just 1 wood and fiber for testing, and some collision bounds will be tweaked to enable all the placements that they want with the walls. And I think that's all for this change log this week. So about 5 days ago, I asked you guys what you thought about us adding Valheim to the channel, and we've been pondering about it for a while. Well, it looks like most of you guys, about 87%, either has no opinion or it sounds good to you. So we're going to go ahead and go through with Valheim content. I don't know when it's going to actually be in the channel, but look forward to seeing quite a few videos probably posted at a time for that content. And just want to let you guys know about that, just so in the future you see Valheim content. We're not going away from Icarus content whatsoever. We're going to continue doing at least the weekly update videos, and I have a few actual videos planned for the channel for Icarus itself, including the missions. We're going to start that hopefully next week. We'll see. It's a really busy time for me, so as far as that goes, just kind of subscribe to the channel. You'll see whenever a new video or an update comes out. And also, everybody who has served, thank you so much for serving here in the United States. It is Veterans Day, so we want to just thank you for the men and women who have served United States Armed Forces. And guys, don't forget, if you like what you see, to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, we also stream Friday and Saturday from 9 o'clock p.m. to whenever. So hopefully we'll see you next time. Peace.